Hi, hey friends, it's Sarah Noel Block, founder of Tiny Marketing, and this is Marketing a Tiny Bit Smarter, where we dive into marketing topics that give you actionable advice that you can implement today. Housekeeping, if you have questions, ask them at any time in the comments. We will get to them at the end of the session. So anytime, ask your questions. Today we have Brian Minick, COO of Zero Bounce, and he's here to talk to us about how to get more eyes on your email marketing. So let me bring him onto the platform. Hey.
Hi, Sarah.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am good. Can you introduce yourself and Zero Bounce to the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Brian Minick, the Chief Operating Officer of Zero Bounce, and I work really closely with our support and success teams. Zero Bounce is a online email validation platform where we help companies verify their contacts or their database or list. And we're also pretty helpful with some proactive things as well. Our main goal is to help you with deliverability and getting into inbox when you're doing your marketing campaigns. So that's a little bit about me and a little bit about Zero Bounce.
Yes, and that is a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. So any marketer who's sending out emails, we see that deliverability, like that deliver rate, and then the sent rate. So can you tell us how we can get our emails to actually get in inboxes more often?
Yeah, definitely. So, what you see a lot from the ESPs is delivered, right? They delivered X amount of emails, but what they never really tell you is where it landed, right? Which is really the holy grail. It's the magic component that makes things either effective or a whole lot of junk. And so, when you are trying to get things into inbox, there's a lot of things you want to pay attention to, and from the quality of your list that you're sending to the content, to your domain, the IP address, and all these really good things. So there's some really good things to talk about, and I think we have a lot to talk about with it. So
yeah, let's get into that. So how do you improve your deliverability rate?
Sure. So there's a lot of steps, but some of the things that are very easy to do and people can do right away is number one, if you have a list that you've maybe had for a while, or you acquired that list, or whatever it might be, you definitely want to run it through a verification software. And a company like Zero Bounce, what we're doing is we're actually going and connecting to each mailbox of recipients that you have on your list to see if the mailbox really still exists. Because it may have existed a year ago, and with the pandemic, business emails have been churning crazy.
Yeah.
And so you want to make sure that the recipient exists, because if it doesn't, it will bounce. And a high bounce rate is a big red flag for all of the mail servers. And so, we are in a point where technology is taking over, obviously, and things are smart. Our systems are very smart. They're smarter than they've ever been. And so when people are bouncing, or you have a lot of people marking you as spam from complainers, which is another thing we can help you with, the other mail servers start to take action, and their job is to deliver the best content to your inbox. So starting with a clean list, that's very important. The content, how many images you're using, don't try to fool people, not linking images as little as possible. Things like that is recommendations. Some spam words, free, a lot of things are just kind of spammy. And then what I also recommend, and something we can help with, is testing. So we have Zero Bounce offers a inbox testing tool where you can send to a bunch of our seed accounts, and from there we'll tell you if it landed in inbox or spam, so that you can fix things that may have caused that and triggered it. So a clean list, a clean domain, a steady repetition of mail going to the same people is okay and good. So all of these things are really playing pieces to this puzzle, and there's still a lot more to talk about.
So I have a question about that with Gmail in particular. You have those multiple inboxes. So these marketing emails are not just going to inbox or spam. They could also be going to updates or promo. Are you able to tell where like which Gmail inbox you're going to and how to get to the primary?
Great question. And yes and no. So some people have that turned off. Myself, I have it turned off because I've missed emails and it just drives me nuts. However, lots of people don't. We cannot tell where it's going in there because it's pretty much an invasion of privacy. So we do not have the ability to say if it went to the promotions or went into the other tabs, but usually you can tell these things by open rates. If your open rates are really low, there's a good chance you're falling into these kind of other categories that are commonly just either deleted, marked as red, kind of moving on. So, but it's a good question. And it's very tough to accomplish, and something Gmail is pretty passionate about making, as effective as possible. So it's a challenge for sure.
Yeah, even when you mark something like, I don't want this going to updates, I want it to go to primary, it doesn't always do that. You have to like set a filter to make it happen. So going back to the spamminess, what is a rule of thumb for like the right text to image ratio in an email to not be considered spam?
Good question. So I don't know if I have I would be giving you just a number off the top of my head on the ratio, but typically what we would see is as little images as possible. Logos are okay. Like a main banner image is okay. Products, if you're doing product images, those are usually okay, but you really just don't want to have a whole lot of images, and especially linked images, because it's common. Everyone's looking on the phones, viewing their email on phones, and a image turns into a thumb, tab, which turns into a click, which turns into immediate bounce. And it's not something that is usually the best practice. So best practice would be, good text, nice spacing, make sure it's mobile friendly because pretty much everyone will probably see it on their phone. And really just trying to do your best to create engaging content. That's the best advice I could say. So we really believe that when you have engaging content, that's what makes people actually read it. That's what makes people click. And interaction with your content is what gives you a great reputation, from all the mail servers. So when mail servers see you clicking and opening the attachments, opening the links that you are providing, it's considered engagement, and that's really good for your reputation. It means people want your content, and there's a good chance that it'll help keep it in the inbox.
So something like my takeaway from that is that pretty much anyway, like the way that you need to be able to, you need to create engaging content for people to find it on. When it comes to like content marketing, like Google only really ranks high engagement or engaged blogs, articles, websites, things that people actually want to read. And the same goes for email deliverability, that you're more likely to get into the inbox if it's actually engaging and value driven.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we were talking about spam earlier. What are those spam words that trigger you going to the spam box?
Yeah. So there's a few things. They're not just words. It's also sometimes punctuation, too many exclamation points, everything in all caps. There's a lot of different pieces to what might cause that flag to go off. But, the word free, it's not a bad word to use, but you just have to use it sparingly. You can't say free everywhere. It's the spam filters are bots, right? It's a computer. It's going to scan your content, and you want to be friends with that bot. You want that bot to receive your message and go, yeah, this is something I would want. So, just being cautious of some of those words. Obviously there's profanity and, other types of sources that you don't want to send people to. Those are going to immediately flag it. But if you have good, clean content, or you're sharing product, usually you're probably in the safe zone. And again, I still recommend people doing like inbox placement testing, which will really tell you, right? Because what you don't know is what's actually happening with it once you hit send. Yeah. And if you're sending it to yourself, more than likely, if it ever made it in spam, you've pulled it out. So you don't have a true picture of what's happening outside of your own inbox. And that's something you want to know.
So what are the risks of not validating your list before you start emailing people from a new system?
Yeah, so there's a lot of risk to that. And generally what we would see is there's a few things that are going to happen when you run a list through zero bounce or through a validation software. You're going to find a majority or a portion of the list, and what we see is on average about 22% of business contacts per year are churning. And so let's just say 20% of your list is bad and it says invalid. There's no recipient on the other side of that inbox. That's going to cause the mail server to bounce it, and you're going to get a bounce back message. A couple things happen with that. Depending upon your ESP, the service provider that you're using to send mail, they might get really upset with you because that hurts their infrastructure. So they might, I've seen it, from all scenarios here of, hey, a warning, you need to fix your database, there's something wrong, or B, we don't want to work with you. And they literally just kick you off.
Yeah, you to jail. Email.
Yeah, mail jail. And so, that's obviously really bad. And then you have to go figure everything out. They usually won't accept you back, and they have to move everything, move your content. It can be a pain. Also, you can end up on blacklists, which are really problematic because blacklists are what the mail servers and the spam filters check against these blacklists to see if you're part of it. And if they are, it's easy to just say, well, that's easy, spam. And so you want to avoid that. And you want to pay attention to it. You want to make sure your domain that you're sending from, the .com or whatever you use to send mail from is a nice, clean domain, and you can check that easily. Zero Bounce has lots of tools for this. And then also the IP address that you're sending from. It could be a shared IP address or it could be your own. It really doesn't matter, but you want to understand if that IP is in a bad place in the blacklist world. And you can also get it removed. So it is possible, but the problem is most people don't know they are. And so awareness here is really key.
So with the IP list, if you're using a VPN, could that possibly trigger you being on or going on the blacklist?
So it would be the IP address of the mail server sending the mail. So it's not necessarily your desktop or how you're accessing your ESP. It would be what you're like MailChimp as an example, no favoritism. They will have an IP address for every single mail server that they use, and that mail server could be on blacklist, and it's their IP address. So there's, sometimes you don't even know it could be there, and it could be from somebody else, that shares that same IP address from you. So it's good to know, and if it's really bad, you can request to get it changed.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so when we're sending emails, is there any particular kind of content that we should be avoiding to not end up in spam?
Is there any kind of content you should be avoiding? I think there's some obvious ones. I'm certainly not going to mention them, but I can tell you this, and somebody told me this and I laugh because even when you see it on social media, it still resonates. People love pictures of animals. And for some reason, I've seen them increase open rates. I've seen them increase engagement. So I have more on what you should do than you shouldn't do.
Let's hear what you should do. I'd love to that. I is on the shit list. Am I hearing correctly?
Yeah, no, animals is a great thing. Well, what you're looking for is engagement, right? And also another thing that you should do, and it's important, is to make it very easy to unsubscribe. So this is kind of that gray area where you as the marketer feel like, well, I don't want anyone to unsubscribe. I don't want anyone. Let's bury it. Let's, press enter 30 times and drop the unsubscribe way down. That's actually a bad thing. And unsubscribe is good in a sense, and hear me out. So yes, the person doesn't want your content, and that's okay, but they also clicked on your email, and the mail servers see that as engagement. So even though it's unsubscribe, it's engagement, and they see it no differently than any other link on your email. So these people are going to get off it one way or another. They're either going to email you and give you, a whole lot of heat, or they're going to, yeah. So make it easy for them. That's my best advice. And again, it's engagement. It's considered a click. So, in a sense, it can help you if people are doing it. And they don't want your email. It's better than them marking you as spam. That's the worst case scenario, is them marking you as spam.
That makes sense. And I always think if someone is unsubscribing, they're not your person anyway.
Yeah, and
Yeah, they're not going to buy from you. Just buy.
certainly. And we felt it. You know, you feel that. What did I do?
Soul a little.
Yes, it burns a little, but you know, you have to think on the side of if they're unsubscribing, they're probably not going to be engaging with you anyway. And really, if you have a lot of content or you have a lot of subscribers that have never engaged with you, and you've been sending them mail for years, that's also a consideration to rethink if they should be on your distribution list. Because things are with deliverability and inboxing, a lot of it comes down to percents, right? So what's the percent of people that are interacting with my email? And removing the people that don't interact, if they've never purchased from you and they've never engaged and they're just getting the email, weigh the pros and cons of trying without it, because what you're doing is increasing your percentage. So if you're sending to, I don't want to go through the whole math, but I think you get the picture of removing people that are no longer engaging can provide a benefit. And so the thing that I think people struggle with the most is quantity over quality, when it should be reversed. It should be quality over quantity, because a million emails to the spam folder is worthless. It's worthless. 600,000 to the inbox is game changing. So you want to make sure that you're focusing on getting into people's inboxes and people that are interacting with your content.
Yeah. So we should be cleaning our inbox or our subscriber list probably a lot more often than just changing to a different email provider. Is there a rule of thumb of how often you should clean out your subscriber list?
Yeah. So what we recommend, we have a few different ways to approach it. One of them is to clean it as you receive it, like on a sign-up form, something of that nature. And we can actually catch typos there, which is a really important thing you might want to pay attention to. But once you have a database, an established database, my recommendation would be to cleanse it at least once every 6 months. If you are heavy in the B2B world and doing a lot of marketing in B2B, you might want to shorten that to 3 or 4 months. But also keep in mind that typically most of the ESPs that are out there, they make their money and they bill you based on the size of your database, not how often you send, the size of your database. And so, just sticking with our analogies of a million records, if a lot of them are bad, you're paying a lot of extra money to literally just have bad data sitting out there. And it's why they don't really highlight it for you, because it's perfect for them. I mean, they're making money and they won't even send the email to them because they're going to bounce. And then once it bounces, they're going to suppress it. So typically what we're seeing is a lot of people getting immediate ROIs. And then on top of it, now you're getting better inbox placement, which is just key to deliverability.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like when you're sending an email through HubSpot, you have the option to click that checkbox to not send to unengaged. And it could be thousands of people, but you're still paying for them, even though you're not sending an email to them.
Yep, definitely.
So we talked a little bit earlier about the importance of sending emails consistently, but why? Why though? Why is that?
Sure. Yeah, so it's important because what it's doing, there's a lot of things that go into sending mail, and some advanced systems are trying to do their best to keep it, but there's things called keeping your IP address warm, keeping your domain warm. And so, the best analogy I can maybe put it to is maybe if your postman always knocks on your door at 4:30 p.m. with a package for you, and you're expecting every time you come around the corner, you're expecting to see the postman, you grab your package, all is good. Now that postman comes the next day at 8:30 a.m. and knocks on your door, you're coming around the corner like, who is this and who's knocking on my door? And most people in today's world aren't even going to go answer it, right?
No, that's
and so
killer.
Yeah, so who's that? I don't know who it is. Probably a solicitor, going to leave them alone. And so, but the point is that your brain and in a sense, these mail servers are accustomed to when you're sending and the cycles that you're sending in. And so when they're expecting it, it's just like the guy with the through traffic, like, come on, keep it coming. I'm used to you. I see you and I wave to you. I know who you are. And so when you start sending things sporadically or to random things, it kind of puts a checkpoint in place for those mail servers to take a look and go, not used to this. Is this right? Let's go double check everything. So basically what you're doing is you're keeping a cadence that is familiar in the web and familiar on the mail servers that will help you increase, your chances of getting into inbox.
Huh. I did not know that. So it doesn't, like, it's not just consistently emailing them, it's emailing them in a regular cadence, like on Wednesday.
Yeah. And time of day also can play a role. So I would just be consistent. If you're sending good content and you have a good cadence, just be consistent with it. Schedule things, plan ahead, that type of stuff. But you can still send a one-off email. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to scare anyone off from, I have a special and it's only on this day and you want to send it, you should. But just have that schedule behind it. So it's supporting and everyone is kind of on the same page that your mail is good and people like it and it's good to send through.
Oh, that is something new. I did not know before.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, with technology in the mail because, they're trying to get it under control is a thing too, right? And so they're putting all these smart kind of bots in place to help. And their goal is to deliver content to your inbox that they think you want.
Yeah, it's like Google. Their goal is to put the content that you actually want to read at the top.
Yep, so exactly.
Email. Okay.
Exactly.
I can wrap my mind around that concept. Is there anything else that you want our viewers to know?
One of the things that is probably just really good is when you're collecting email addresses, because I'm sure a lot of your viewers are collecting email addresses, try to use a double opt-in process. And what that is that you're sending an email and you're asking them to confirm that they want to join your list. That immediately creates engagement with your domain, right? Which is really good. You're already now the inbox that they went to, if it went in spam, they probably checked it because you said, hey, please confirm your email address that I sent to you. So, just little tips and tricks like that, or while it might seem again to go against quantity, it is to increase quality. And so that's my best message I can deliver today is focus on quality and not quantity. There's too many bots. There's too many fake emails and bad emails, and people get too hung up on the numbers. Try it the other way and see what the results are.
Well, that makes so much sense. I thought, like, in my mind, double opt-in feels like friction, but creating that engagement right away is probably going to make it more likely that your email is going to make it to the correct inbox in the future. If that makes sense.
Yep. Or if it went into promotions, or if it went into those tabs on Google and they potentially pull it out because they know they don't want your emails to be there, you're giving them the ability to do it when the thought is hot, right? And the thought is fresh.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. So Zero Bounce is offering, is it a free trial?
Yeah, we actually have a freemium account for anyone and everyone can try. It would give you 100 validations per month, which might be good for startups or anybody that has small database. And we certainly have packages above and beyond that. So I welcome anyone to try us for free. What you also get in that free account would be an inbox placement tester, which would tell you if it's landing in spam or inbox or not delivered. We also do blacklist monitoring. That's again free. You can put your domain in there. If you end up on a blacklist, we'll email you. And we can also help you with testing your mail server. So if you're kind of on the advanced side, you have your own mail server, we can scan the configuration of that and provide you back warnings or critical errors on your mail server. So again, all that is free. And our team's here 24/7 through chat, phone calls, everything. We work around the clock. We're fully international, have an office in Europe as well. And we just love what we do and how we help people. So even if you just want to chat, call us. We have some really great people you can talk to.
That is a lot available for free.
That's definitely.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today. I learned a ton, and I'm sure the viewers did too.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And, I hope the content was enjoyable for the people on the call today. And so thank you very much. And if you have any questions, we're always here.
Thank you so much. Oh, hold on one second. We do have questions. right here. Here's a good one. How do you decide on cadence and frequency? How often is too often?
That's a really good question. So what we do at Zero Bounce, we send a weekly newsletter, and I believe that's on Thursday mornings, like 9 a.m. or 11 a.m. And so I would say at least weekly is fine, once per week. It depends upon your content, right? So can you even spin enough content to give somebody fresh and engaging content more than once per week? If the answer is yes, then it's probably okay. An example might be you have a daily special on your e-commerce website. It might be okay to email that daily. If your content is good and people click on it and you're getting purchases from it, that's okay. What you don't want is a bunch of spam hitting people's inboxes that they don't want to read and it's not engaging to them. So there's really not a right or wrong answer here. It's somewhat depending upon what you're offering to your viewers.
Okay, but you guys start at once per week, and then
we do once per week. And if we have a special or something of that nature that we're trying to send a message out, we will send that on Tuesday. So we might send a second one for the week. That's how we do it, and we typically see success with it and landing in the inbox.
That makes sense. So you have the regular cadence for like your weekly newsletter, and then promotional still go out the same day every time you have it. So that's
yes,
also like on
in the same time.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It was awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. Bye.
Bye.
All right, let's wrap it up. Thank you for joining me today. And as a reminder, you can work with me in a few different ways. I work with small B2Bs as a virtual marketing director, running everything for you. And I work with marketing agencies and marketing departments for content creation. You can join my live streams as a guest. Apply at sarahnoelblock.com/livestream. And last, you can join my monthly marketing challenges, where you learn a new skill and implement it in 4 weeks. Go to sarahnoelblock.com/challenge to get notified about that. Next week is a solo show, and we are going to talk about how to find and manage a pool of freelancers so you can get more marketing without adding to your headcount. All right, I will see you next week. Thank you so much.